Hello my fellow riders and welcome back to Riding Reviews. Today we're going to talk about how bloody cold it is outside and how you can stay safe on your motorcycle during winter. So I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to stay safe during winter on your motorcycle. Now make sure that you watch to the end of this video because there are some helpful tips there. Before you start going out on your motorcycle, it is really important that you start it up, warm it up and let it get up to temperature before you ride it. Number one, this will help with the longevity of your engine, but also it will help you on your everyday ride. Reason for this is if you are riding up the road and you haven't allowed your bike to warm up correctly, when you come up to roundabouts and turnings and all this sort of thing, you hold in the clutch, you come to a stop, chances are your bike's going to cut out. Also, it affects things like when you're riding and you're going up hills, you'll get less power because your choke is still on your motorcycle. Now, as you'll notice on most motorcycles with EFI especially, when you start your bike, it'll rev up to about 3,000 RPM, then it will drop down to 2,000. This doesn't mean the choke's off, this just means that the initial startup is done. You need to wait an additional 5 minutes for it to warm up so that it is safe to ride. Make sure you do your pre-inspection checks on your motorcycles. Tyre pressures, especially in the winter, if the temperature outside drops by approximately 10 degrees, you can lose 3 to 5 psi in your tyre. And over time with the heating and cooling, your tyre pressures are going to reduce by a lot. So you need to make sure that every week or so, that especially in the winter, that you check and make sure that your tyre pressures are correct. Also, make sure you check your oil. If you store your bike outside and you heat it up and cool it down, heat it up and cool it down, and there's a lot of moisture in the air, there is a chance that your oil in your engine block can actually suck the moisture out of the air. Put it into the oil and then your oil isn't as good anymore. So if you see any creamy substance around your dipstick, make sure you change your oil immediately because this can really damage your engine. Check, make sure all your indicators work, your lights work, your brake lights work. Make sure that you have the correct amount of fuel. You don't want to break down somewhere and have to wait a couple of hours for somebody to pick you up when it's -3 or 4. Also, I would recommend getting LED bulbs for most motorcycles nowadays because the H4 3535 bulbs just don't cover it anymore. So if you get some LED bulbs, you can have a brighter light and this will help you especially in the winter conditions. Make sure that you check the weather conditions before you go out. If you go out and it's snowing, maybe you should reconsider and not use your motorcycle because you are not going to be able to control that bike properly in the snow. Also, icy conditions. If you see any shiny parts on the road, especially when it's really cold, the shiny parts 90% of the time are ice. If you ride over it straight, it's usually not a problem. It's usually when you're turning and going over ice patches that you will come off. So make sure that you have a look out for weather conditions before you go out and make sure you make an informed decision on whether or not you really need to go out. Bonus thing with this one is if you are driving around and there's leaves on the road, make sure that you're careful when you drive over the leaves because again it could be a slippy surface underneath and you can't see it because it's covered in leaves. Also, manhole covers. You've got to be careful of these because they are extremely slippy when you are on your motorcycle, especially in cold and wet conditions. And finally, on this point, if you are riding and it's just massively downpoured, you should wait until the rain's been going for approximately 5 to 10 minutes just so that it can wash the road off of all that grit and grease and everything that's been sitting on there while it's been dry, because otherwise you've got to ride over that and you can come a cropper very easily. Oil is bad, diesel is worse for coming a cropper, so you want it all to be washed away before you actually get on it. So there are many things that you can get on your bike to make it a more comfortable ride for you. Now there's a couple that I recommend and there's some that I do not. Firstly, if you want to get heated gloves, this is a very good idea. It means that you can use multiple bikes without having to change things like heated grips, and you can use them external of the bike as well. Heated grips are a good idea if you use your motorcycle and only one motorcycle, because they are there when you need them. But you've got to be careful with the heated grips, because especially on 125cc's, they only make a certain amount of excess voltage, and if you've got something like 2 USB ports and you've got this and you've got high intensity bulbs, then you might find that as you're riding along your battery is going to be draining and eventually it's just going to kill your bike off. EFI motorcycles are very susceptible to low battery voltage, so you've got to be careful on that. But if you're just using your heated grips, which will take about 2 amp at a time, then this is absolutely fine. The way that the body works is if you are cold, your body will automatically reduce the blood flow to your hands and to your feet. Hence why when you're cold, your hands and feet feel really, really cold. Now, if you can heat up your hands, generally your body will think you're warm and start the blood flow properly again. You're not going to be massively warm, but it will keep you from freezing. The things that I said that I didn't agree with is around your handlebars, you can get these sleeves that you stick your hands in. They will keep you extremely warm. The issue that I've got with these is if you do come across it and have an accident, you're not going to be able to get your hands out quick enough to put them down to protect you from banging your head, your shoulders, and all that sort of stuff. So if your hands are in like this and you're falling over, you're going to want to move your hands out to the side to put them down to protect yourself, but you're not going to be able to do that because they're inside those gloves. Now, I don't like them. Some people do, some people don't, but I refuse to fit them. So if somebody comes to my workshop and says, can you fit these, I will say, absolutely not. Just because I don't believe in them. And I'm not going to fit something to someone's bike that I believe is dangerous. Similar to the last one, but this is one of the most important things that you are going to have to do when you're on a motorcycle, and that is layer up, get warm. The worst thing you can do on a motorbike in cold weather is stiffen up, because then you're not going to be able to lean, you're not going to be able to feel the bike, you're too much concentrating on keeping yourself warm, and this is going to massively affect your drive or your ride. So make sure that you do everything you can possible to keep you warm. Now, if the temperature is that cold outside, again, maybe you should consider not using your motorcycle. Just because of your safety. One day not using your motorcycle and getting a taxi is going to be better than you falling off your bike and have 3 months recovering from that. So this is something that you seriously need to consider. If you do not have to ride your bike in these wintry conditions, please don't. It's safer for you, it's safer for every other road user, and you can ride it another day. So your tyres are designed to run in a certain temperature range. Now, it is quite a large temperature range, but there are times in the UK that you are going to not be able to get within these temperature ranges. So a bike will have its best performance, i.e. grip, between 5 degrees and 90 degrees. Over 90 degrees, it's going to start having too much grip and it's going to start damaging the tyre. Under that, your tyre isn't going to be supple and soft enough to be able to take the bumps and crevices in the road as well. So grip is going to be massively reduced under 5 degrees C. Doesn't mean you are going to fall off, it just means you have to be more careful of how you ride. But there are some things to consider as well. When you are being too careful on a motorcycle and not leaning enough, this can make you unstable and also be an issue. So again, if you do not have to ride your bike, please do not. Last point I'm going to make on this is, in the UK, when they start gritting the road, your bike is going to be more susceptible to rust because of all that salt getting into your metals on your motorcycle, and it's not going to be good. So the best thing to do once a week is give your bike a good clean, get rid of all that salt so that it doesn't corrode your metals. So yeah, That's all I've got to say on this matter. Hopefully you've got some information out of this, and hopefully you are going to be riding safe during the winter period. Now, I have been talking to you guys about how to make my channel better for you in the future, and this was one thing that you guys said, guys and gals. So you asked for more tutorials and more tips. Here's some tips for you. So thank you for commenting and helping me out with this sort of thing. If you enjoyed my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button to stay updated to all of my latest content. But as always, ride safe. Hold it. If you want to see more tips and tricks videos, there is a link in here so that you can see them. As always, ride safe.